Scruffy Audio Network.
Listen to silence while you're checking text messages.
Yeah. Text messages.
Yeah, both. Okay, so I'm not going to be nicer to you. I've been told that, and people just don't know you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Need to be.
What? I'm getting ready to do the welcome.
Why do you always do the welcome?
Do the welcome.
No, I don't want to. I don't like it.
Good. Nobody wants you to. Welcome to Why Would You Go There, the travel show that two morons are going to just talk about places that they've been. They're going to argue a little bit about where they've been. I'm one of those morons. My name is Troy.
I'm Lee.
Oh, hey,
the other
job.
moron.
Good job on the cue this time.
Well, you pointed at me, so I knew it was my turn. Thanks.
All right. So you'll only speak when I point to you.
Okay. So let me use my finger to point at you. Hold on a second.
Okay. Today, what city are we talking about?
We were talking about London.
And I love the way we timed it together just right. It was so cute.
It's cute, yeah.
So cute.
God save the Queen.
I thought that we had gone over this and you were not going to go with that goofy British accent or pseudo British accent or not even a British accent, but you did it anyway.
You're welcome.
Okay. So as we go through this, we'll talk about the things that we typically do, the must-sees, the other things to do. Believe it or not, we're going to talk a little bit about food. That will be funny. And I don't know if it'll be funny, haha. It might be just funny strange. Yeah, well, it always is.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that I like to talk about first is, how to get around in London. And my favorite way to get around, even though they have a subway, and of course there's some walkable parts, but it's
the tube. The subway is called the tube.
Yeah, they have the tube or the underground.
Yeah. We've talked about this before. About how nice some subways are. Their subway is actually very nice.
You typically love a good tube, so you love it.
Mind the queue.
Yeah, mind the queue getting in the tube. But I love the black cab, or they call it the Hackney cab. That's that kind of bubbled, typical British looking car that you see. It's looks kind of like a hatchback or something. And those black cabs,
you would love a hatchback.
Those cabs are everywhere, first of all, and on top of that, they are huge inside. It looks like a tiny little car. You have no idea. They can fit like 10 people and 10 suitcases inside one of those things. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but they can fit a ton of people. We liked it so much. Like I said, it's a little bit walkable, and you can get around certain areas pretty well. We did quite a bit of walking, but the funny walking story, well, funny to me, is that when
most stuff is funny to me.
Yeah, when we were just there, my wife, as we were walking a little bit, she said, my feet are hurting. I didn't bring any tennis shoes. Which, surprise, I didn't bring any tennis shoes on a trip that we were going to be walking on, and we had to buy her a pair of shoes, and I know that was I forgot to bring, forgot is in quotes, tennis shoes. She knew exactly what she was doing. We'll talk about shopping a little bit later. Well. We did a little bit of shopping there. But definitely ride in a Hackney cab.
Speaking of, I love the London purple pink tie you're wearing today.
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that except to say thank you. This is a purple tie. I typically wear a tie. Yeah. You, as usual, are in cut off jeans and a wife beater.
Looks great.
Yeah. One of us is a little more refined than the other.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's talk about the must-sees.
We're still talking about getting around.
Okay, talk about getting around. What are you talking about?
You can put train up there.
Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about...
way to screw it up.
I was going to talk about the ride in. So we took we took the what's that train called that comes in from Paris?
The Channel. Well, it goes through the Channel.
Yeah, what is that?
I actually did that.
Yeah, I did too.
And it was really cool. Goes super fast. I don't know what it was called, but
we
did a podcast previously about Paris, and I actually went from Paris to London.
That's exactly really what we did. Yeah, and I was going to talk about the train ride into London. Yeah, is the London countryside. We live in East Tennessee, and it looks a lot like East Tennessee, with the exception of we don't have a lot of castles. And you'll just be riding the train in through the countryside. It's beautiful, rolling hills and everything, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a castle out in the middle of nowhere. Which is really, really kind of cool.
Take it into Waterloo Station. That place is huge.
Yeah, we stayed
got to be the biggest train station.
We stayed pretty close to there. Well, that's where we went into, and then we were not. We were right around the corner from that when we stayed there. Yeah. Let's move on. Can we talk about must-sees?
Yeah, let's do it now.
You start.
Okay. So I'll talk about when I went to London. It was gosh, it's been 13 years ago now. So I don't recall a ton about what I did. But one of the things that I liked the most was the London Eye, which is basically a huge carousel with like pods. You've seen them in some other cities now, like Las Vegas has one. But it's a huge carousel that has a pod that houses, or not houses, but it'll carry about 25 people, and it takes like 30 minutes for a rotation to go all the way around. But it gives you great views of the city. It gives you a great view. You know, you're almost over the River Thames is what they call it, that goes through
I think it's Thames. I think it's Thames.
I think you're wrong, because I asked the British guy that sits right beside me at work, and he said Thames. So
yeah, I'm going to say you're wrong.
The guy that's from England that sits right beside me told me the wrong thing.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Google it. Keep talking.
Yeah. So anyway, it gives you great views of the city. It gives you a great view of Big Ben, which is kind of like their Parliament House. You've probably seen it on whatever postcards or pictures before. It's a huge clock, the big brown building, but it's their Parliament House that has
we just Googled this. I wanted to talk about this river where it says pronounced T-E-M-S. That sounds like Thames to me.
Maybe that was his British accent I couldn't understand.
Anyway, I interrupted you just to do the Google thing. So
yeah. Well, I was pretty much done with what I was talking about. So
the London Eye, we almost did the London Eye.
You should have done it. It's really neat. It really is. Again, it can fit like 25 people. It's crazy because when you look at it from far away, it looks like it's so small, and it fit. 2 or 3 people can fit in a pod or capsule, I think is what they're called.
I think the deciding factor for us was my wife does not love heights, and we saw it. We were staying right beside it. And she looked at it and said, "Yeah, you can do that. I'll wait for you." And I said, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to let you wait for me at the bottom of this giant Ferris wheel."
She just wanted to get away from you.
Plus, there's about 20 sci-fi movies or something where they show it bomb hitting it and it's crashing and everything, and she's seen several of those. So she's like, that didn't look like a good idea.
Fun fact, by the way, I looked it up just to see how many people it would hold because I couldn't quite remember.
Yeah.
But I also found a fun fact that over 5,000 people have gotten engaged in that thing, in one of those capsules since the year 2000.
That seems like a wasted engagement. Those must be people on their second marriages.
No way. So for those of you single guys out there, that's where
you are not
romantic
if you take somebody up in the London iPod with 20 other people to ask somebody to marry you.
You'd have an audience.
Yeah. What's another must see, must do?
Well, I'm kind of running out here, but
you were there, weren't you?
Yes.
Did you do anything?
I went. Yeah.
Well, besides the London Eye?
I did. Yeah. We can talk about Buckingham Palace. Did that? Obviously, it's where the Queen lives.
Yeah.
You can see the changing of the guard.
She lives there most of the time. I think.
Yeah.
I think she's got that in Windsor Castle. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So I don't know which one is like the summer home and the winter home. Yeah. Well, if you're a queen, you're gonna.
Also, what is so fascinating about royalty? Us Americans, my wife specifically, love
the
royalty. But, it's a king and a queen, so what?
They're better than you.
And
they know it, and everybody else knows it.
I don't get it.
They know it, and everybody else knows it.
I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, I don't know how to help you.
Because they wear a crown? I can wear a crown.
I'm about to crown you. Let's not insult. I love London. I love that town. It's rivaling for me Rome as far as my favorite town outside of this.
Give me a break.
Outside of this country. So don't talk bad about. First of all, don't mispronounce the river that runs right through the city, and then 2, don't talk bad about British royalty.
I'm not talking bad. I just don't understand the extreme fascination. I still think it's neat, but I just don't understand how hundreds of millions of people watch a wedding that has nothing to do with them whatsoever. But anyway.
Yeah, but you don't want to watch any wedding.
That is true, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about, you talked about the London Eye, and then you were kind of at a loss for anything else to do in this great city.
No, I wasn't at a loss.
So let's talk about the Tower of London. And I kind of pair that with the Tower Bridge, too, because they're right there beside each other.
You talked about how much you love London. Let me just explain. So when I go out of the country, I want to feel like I'm out of the country. And London is a great city. Almost said country. London is a great city, but I didn't feel like I was out of the country.
Because they spoke English?
Yeah.
Better English than you?
Yeah.
They definitely speak
fancier
better
English than me.
They
Fancier
speak the Queen's English.
Yeah. Well, they wear crowns.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't. I don't know. It was a fun place. I think for all you that are trying to go somewhere internationally, that's very easy to get around, and it's a pretty simple place. I think that's. Well, I say it's simple. It's still big, but it's a good place to go as a starter point. But I wanted it to be a little more international
foreign
feel.
Yeah. Well, the kind of the draw, I guess, in some ways, is that there's no language barrier. I mean, you can pretty much understand everything that they say. And we came on this particular trip. We went right from Paris to London, so we had this kind of miserable experience with some Parisians. Not all, but with some Parisians
in a subway. My favorite story.
In a subway, and then
you're so bitter about that.
I am. It's 200 euros, and then we went right to London, where we didn't have any problem getting around. We didn't have any problem communicating with folks. Hey, if they could understand what we were saying, and we can understand them, and we loved all that. So,
yeah. But anyway, I still like the city, but I just didn't feel, that it was super foreign. So I don't want anybody to think that it's not a good place to go or not fun, but it's definitely not my favorite international city. But anyway, what are your other must-sees since we took a 10-minute...
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Tower of London and the Tower Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. The Tower of London, it's not just a tower, which if you're A, an idiot like I am, or B, don't understand history at all, like I do not, then you may think, oh, there's a tower there. It's actually a fort. It's a huge fort, and it was London at one point.
Yeah,
it's right there on the river, and that was I don't know, 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, that was London. I guess
just making
probably about 1,100 years ago. I am making numbers up, but if I act like I'm talking about them,
just go ahead.
If I act like I'm thinking about them while I'm talking about them,
please nobody Google this.
It sounds
we know
like
what we're talking about. But it houses the crown jewels, right?
It does, which is great. So you go to the Tower of London, and you can get in there and you can see the crown jewels. I've talked about TripAdvisor and Viatore, which is TripAdvisor's kind of a tour guide system that you can buy through TripAdvisor. We did a couple of skip the lines, and for this one, we got enter the tower before the tower opens to the public. So there were probably...
Oh, you got to skip the line.
We skipped the line completely on those jewels. And then we actually got to see the changing of the guard there. That's not the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. That's something different.
Yeah.
But this is where the beefeaters are. Those guys on the beefeater gin, they're all dressed just like those guys. They're the armed guard that guards the tower. And the tower guard came down, and we got to see the march out where the whoever the master of arms is, or sergeant of arms, or whatever his title is, not you, walked down with the keys and unlocked the tower. And when they unlock it and open the gates, we were inside, and we got to see the flood of people come in to see that. And then, which was really cool, and then they ushered us from there. Okay, here comes this big giant crowd. You're going to get in front of them, and you're going to go see the crown jewels. And we got to spend all the time that we wanted.
You have got to be kidding me with this cell phone again.
That had to be
podcast
that had to be
number
Paul.
2.
I am on airplane mode. That had to be Paul.
Likely story.
But you hear all the kind of cool stories. We had a tour guide who was great on this Viatore tour. She all kinds of interesting things. They have these ravens that live there, and there's always been a raven since the tower was built. So they keep them there and they feed them there, and it's like bad luck if one of them flies off or something. So, but they're so kind of trained now that they just stay there, and they're big giant birds. And then from there, we went and did the Tower Bridge. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about the Tower of London too. For me, so I wasn't that smart. I didn't buy a tour.
What do you mean wasn't?
Yeah, wasn't. I didn't buy a tour, so I saw the line and I was like, I don't have time for this because we were
Yep,
we were stretched for time.
We're only
So
going to
we
be
didn't
here
actually
once
do it.
every 13 years.
Yeah.
I don't have time
So we
for
didn't do
this.
it. Well, no, we
You
only
didn't-
had a
you didn't see the
limited amount of
jewels?
time. No, didn't.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
you wasted a trip to London.
I agree. But I looked it up before we talked about it today, and there were an estimated 20 billion pounds, which is what their dollars are as pounds, worth of jewels there. That's crazy. That's a huge, huge number.
Yeah, and they have like the crowns that they've had for 500 years, and then there's the Queen's special crown that she had a special light crown made because the other crowns are just so heavy, and they're all sitting there. And it's really cool because it's on you're on kind of a
velvet pillow. I feel like it should be on a velvet pillow.
Well, most of those are encased and on some kind of velvet and beautiful.
Oh yeah,
and
really?
then they have these
kidding.
like moving sidewalks that you're just going by inside this old 1,000-year-old fort and this 1,000-year-old building that's inside the fort. There's all this automation you're going through, and then they have places where you can go in the tower and you can see where all the different armor that they've had over the course of history and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
Cool. Okay, so the Tower Bridge, not to be confused with the Tower of London, which was not a tower, right? But the bridge is actually a bridge. Oddly enough.
But it's right by the tower.
Yes, it is. It's a famous bridge. I mean, it's definitely an icon there. Probably one of the most famous bridges in the world, if I had to guess. Maybe something like the Golden Gate Bridge, something like
folks
that.
Will see it.
They'll know exactly what it is.
Exactly. It's what you associate with London.
It's a drawbridge, so it's cool to see it open, close.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Over the river Thames or Thames, I can't remember.
It's Thames.
Okay,
we just looked it up.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did. Can't believe that guy told me the wrong word. He just wanted me to make a fool of myself on here.
I can't wait to see him tomorrow and ask him about it.
Yeah.
He's going to listen to this and just laugh with all his British friends.
Oh, yeah, he definitely is. These stupid
Americans.
Yes, exactly right. But yeah, so that's a cool bridge. You can walk across. You can actually take a tour. You can go on to like a top part of that bridge as well.
Yeah, we went inside and looked at all the machinery.
Yeah.
It's been there for a couple hundred years. Maybe not that long. Yeah, probably a couple of years. Again, I'm making up numbers,
by the way.
But it doesn't matter now. If you're on a podcast and you're saying it with authority, people believe it.
Yes, probably.
Must be true.
Troy Suggs is an idiot.
I did hear all of this stuff from the tour guide. I just didn't remember it all. But it's kind of cool to see all those flywheel engines that are there and driving the bridge works and so forth. It's a great tour. We spent, about 4 hours touring Tower of London and the Tower Bridge, and it was it was well worth it. What else? What else should we see?
I don't have any other major must-sees. I mean, I know we've got some other things that we want to talk about that are need to do or places to go.
Of course, we mentioned briefly Buckingham Palace. So I think that's a must-see.
Oh, definitely.
So
we already went over that earlier, but whatever.
Well, we didn't really because that's where you see the traditional changing of the guard.
Yes.
And there are always hordes of people outside there. So that's but it's well worth walking over.
It is.
And we came just in time to miss the changing of the guard. We had just missed it
because you had to get shoes for your wife.
Yeah. We're going to blame her, but yeah, maybe. But just walking around the building and so forth, and there's a nice park leading up to it, and I don't remember what the name of that street is that drives right into it. But there's that big kind of iconic street that you'll
be prepared.
You'll see on every British television show where they're driving towards Buckingham Palace. That was kind of a neat thing to see, and then. I think we also want to talk about for must-sees is Big Ben and Parliament.
Yeah, which I talked about already, but that's fine too.
You talked about Big Ben?
Yes.
When did you talk about that?
My very first must-see.
Yeah. You definitely need to see
pay attention.
Big Ben, Parliament, and that's right beside Westminster Abbey, which you want to see the outside of too.
Where's Notting Hill? Is that close?
It's at the Red Box. Okay, so
that's the major must-sees, I think.
I think they are. So I think if you're going to be there for a couple days, you have to see the Tower of London. You have to see Big Ben, which is part of Parliament.
It's so important. We obviously mentioned
we
it
have
twice.
to see Westminster Abbey, and I think you need to see Buckingham Palace too. Those are kind of the main things. So what are some kind of other things that you think, if you're going to be there for a little bit longer, that you might want to do?
Well, me being a sports guy, I went to Wimbledon, where they have the huge tennis tournament. Yes, yeah. Wimbledon, where they have the huge tennis tournament. Went there, and it's pretty cool to see because it's so big. But just went there. There was not a tournament going on, anything like that, but I just wanted to see it, so I went there and saw that. So I think you can do that.
Could you get in, or did you just see it from the outside?
Yeah, you could see the grounds from the outside. Yeah, but you could not get in when I went.
They didn't have like an
you probably
empty
could have had a
stadium tour. Oh, they did.
You probably yes. Yeah. Probably could, but I did not do that.
Yep.
Again, press for time.
Yeah, we could probably check that out on TripAdvisor, but we won't.
Yeah.
What else? I'll tell you something that I think is pretty important. We did the Windsor Castle tour, which is the other place where the royal family lives, where the Queen lives. I think the way that it worked is Buckingham Palace was her weekday home because that's where she conducted business, and then Windsor Castle is the weekend retreat, which is the size of a city.
Yeah,
it's out in the countryside. It's about 35 minutes away from London, but we walked all around that place, and it is huge and beautiful, and it's everything that you see in every. Sometimes we'll be watching, some television show that's about British royalty or the Queen or something, and we'll see we've been right in that hall. We've been, and that's kind of cool, and it's as
enchanting.
It is enchanting, and it is as magnificent as you would think it might be. So I would definitely do that, and then. Shopping. I only talk about shopping because they had that PBS series Selfridges. I was dying to see Selfridges, which is one of the first big London department stores, and Harrods is the other big one. Those are the two main department stores in London, or the start of department stores. So we walked around Selfridges and. We only got to Harrods in the airport. We never did get to Harrods, but we walked all up and down that section to find some shoes. And then I'll tell you something else that we did that was really entertaining. And we were there a total of about 3 days. We did a Jack the Ripper tour, a Jack the Ripper walking tour. Booked that on Viatore. I think it cost about $50 a piece, and we met. I don't have a map up. I can't remember exactly where it was that we met, but
way to be prepared.
Of course, you know that I am. We met over in the Westminster area.
Oh yeah,
and just hopped on a bus, and it kind of drove us around a little bit. And then after 10 or 15 minutes of driving around, then we got off, and we hit every spot that Jack the Ripper. Ripped. That's right. Every spot that he ripped. And they went through, this tour guide was awesome. He went through all the gory details of here's where they found so-and-so's body. And I just thought that he was like stabbing women. But no, he was disemboweling them. So he would cut them.
This is good for the podcast.
Yeah, he would cut them all the way open and then just take everything out and strew it all around. And it was kind of a ghost tour type thing at night. It was really, really entertaining. Yeah. If you're into that sort of thing.
If you're crazy, sure. They
lightened it up at the end because it ended with where William Wallace was executed, which was kind of neat.
Freedom!
Freedom! And they went through the whole William Wallace thing, and then as our tour guide's going through, there's some guy in a Scottish accent behind him correcting him about every third word that he would do. He said, "Oh, no," and then give a different date and a different time and whatever. And finally, we turn around. This guy's in a kilt, and the tour guide said, why are you here?" And he said, "Well, this is the anniversary of when William Wallace was killed," in his heavy Scottish accent. And he said, "We're just here to commemorate it.
Wow.
So this guy knew everything about William Wallace, and he just kind of took over the tour for 2 or 3 minutes and corrected everything the tour guy said, which is great. Which is what somebody's going to do on this podcast with me with these dates.
Yes.
Correct everything.
For one of us, yes.
Yeah. Well, one of us doesn't have any information, so one of us is making it up, and they can just decide which one is which. But that was pretty cool. And we got to see if you like the show Sherlock, PBS. It's on PBS here. We got to see some of those.
To mention shows and movies,
I do.
Everywhere.
Well, you talked about Notting Hill.
Oh, that's true. I did. That's good.
We got to see some of the spots. The spot where Sherlock killed himself or allegedly killed himself.
What about Downton Abbey?
We didn't see Downton Abbey. Yeah, it's not in London, so we did not see that.
Okay.
But
Harry Potter. They do have Harry Potter.
Were some. Yeah, we didn't see any Harry Potter.
You can go to platform 9 3/4.
Yeah, we went by. What's the name of that street in Harry Potter where they get all the magic stuff? We went by that street in the bus on this tour, and he said, "Hey, that's the road," and you can look, and it looks just like it does in the movie.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, that's kind of cool. And then we also went by. What's that, Paul? What's that show that you just saw in New York? The one, the London slasher guy that puts the people in meat pies.
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Good. So we went by where Sweeney Todd had his original shop. Barbershop, which is now, I think it's an attorney's office or something, but they pointed it out to us, and then right around the corner is where they put the people in the meat pies. Oh. So yeah, that was we had a whole lot of history on that, which I don't remember and can't repeat. I couldn't even remember Sweeney Todd's name, but that was a pretty good time. So that's kind of all the. Oh, I guess there's one more thing I think you could do if you're there for a while, is you might do the horse guard, which is not far from Buckingham Palace, and it's just where they keep all the horses. And just like the guards at Buckingham Palace, where there are 2 horse guards that are sitting there and sitting outside this giant stable area, and kind of track where they walk the horses and train them and breed them and so forth. Well, I guess they don't breed them right there on the training grounds, but I don't know.
This is really going downhill. But this is what happens when I don't have a whole lot to say.
Diagon Alley. Well, thanks for putting it up.
That's actually been up there for about 10 minutes, but I thought we moved on.
No, we had. Not. Yeah, thanks. Anyway, so that's something else to see. Go ahead. Yeah. I'm out of breath. I can talk for a while. Yeah.
I do want to say. This is a great place. We mentioned all the places to go and different things. The hop-on, hop-off bus tour is fantastic there because it's a big city and it takes you to so many different points. And I did it there and it worked out great. So
what you don't want to do is get on the wrong hop-on, hop-off bus, because we did it there and we ended up hopping off. As we were getting on, somebody told us that, oh, you probably don't want to go with that. But we were like, okay, we're already buying the tickets. This looks like where we're going. We're going to do it. And it was just some tourist person that told us that. And sure enough, the tourists knew what they were talking about, because we got on some, I don't know, terrible hop-on, hop-off. Not that brand. It was some other random brand. It was like maybe a jump-on, skip-off. And we waited like 45 minutes and finally just said, you know what, let's just get a cab. So we basically paid for one ride, and then it was disastrous. So you make sure that you go with a legitimate hop-on, hop-off.
Yes.
I mean, we've never had that problem before. We were warned and we didn't heed people's warnings, which was kind of stupid, but that happens.
Well, comes with the territory, I feel like.
Let's close this thing out by talking a little bit about food.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
We are not going to make any British friends, but unlike, let me start by saying this is not Rome or Paris.
Agree.
You are not going to get a meal like you're going to get in Rome or Paris.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Brits go to Rome and Paris. They have perfected the meat pie. Which is basically, I guess it's the precursor to a pot pie.
You would love that.
Yeah, it's basically meat and vegetables and gravy stuffed in a pastry and baked. it's not bad. That
Fish and chips.
the fish and chips. Listen,
That was
best
my
fish and
go-to.
chips in the world.
Agree.
But they
Go-to.
serve the fish and chips with. Okay, it's bad enough that you're going to serve it with regular English peas. But do you remember mushy peas?
Oh yeah.
Why do you need to grind these peas up into baby food? And they love it. You can just see them with they put the little peas on the knife and they're eating them off the knife. This little mushy pea paste, and it's terrible.
Paste.
It really was. I said,
Yeah.
sure, I'll try it. And then I immediately regretted that decision.
So everybody has their own opinion, but your opinion and my opinion is the food's not great there.
No. And again, the meat pie. So the meat pie that was baked, I didn't realize this until after we had been there for a few days.
Was by Sweeney Todd?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay. Well, that's
but
good.
The meat pies, the pork pies, are always cold. And they serve them cold. And so there's nothing better than biting into cold pastry, and then you get some nice cold pork fat that is gelatinized. And it's really an acquired taste. I think I would only eat that out of necessity. It basically is like eating a Vienna sausage in a pastry that's ice cold.
That's what your mom said.
Boom, boom.
Well,
There's
yeah,
the mom
good
joke.
There's a mom joke, Paul. Vienna sausage and a pastry that's ice cold.
This is really derailed.
But we did. I will say this. I think I kind of insulted. We went to this one little pub called the Green Man Pub. That's right outside of the Hilton Garden Inn at Heathrow.
Okay.
So we was walking distance, and it was our last night there, and we said, well, let's just go to let's do something local. And it was totally local. There was nobody in there we were the only people that were foreigners in there. Everybody was, they looked like they had just gotten off work, and they were just down there to have a drink. And we went in and ordered some food and beer, and I said, hey, I think I insulted the lady. I said, I know that I've learned one thing here is that you like your meat pies cold and your beer warm. And she just looked at me like she was ready to kill me. But of course, I'm charming, so I won her over afterwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she definitely gave you a meat pie and some warm something.
But I actually ordered a beer and ice, and they looked at me like they wanted to stab me. But I put ice in the beer.
Isn't
the
that
beer,
how everybody looks at you?
The beer was great. I found this London Pride. I know you don't drink beer, so you wouldn't know that. But
nope.
London Pride Ale. I've since been able to find it here. At a couple specialty shops. Great beer, but they like it room temperature.
Oh.
And it is I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. By the end of the time there, I was ordering ice to put in the beer.
Yeah. They do have some cool pubs though. Even though I'm not
great
somebody
pubs.
who's not a
and
drinker,
it's a lifestyle. For
still
them.
cool. Still need to go to some of these and just enjoy the fish and chips there and hang out.
Yeah, we hung
whatever,
at several.
Even if you don't drink.
We hung at several pubs, and it's the pub life is kind of like their life. I mean, they get off work, and this pub is so small that it can only hold 15 people, but there are 50 people at it.
Yeah,
they're crammed in, 25 inside in a 15-person pub, and then another 25 is hanging outside with their beer. But I mean that's just that's kind of the way that their society is, and it's a great way to live.
Yeah.
If you like being social and all that kind of stuff. But again, I would prefer it if they just chilled the beer a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered about everything that we can cover in London, haven't we?
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. What are your final thoughts for London?
My in summaries are. London is a good place if you want to go out of the country, but you're too intimidated or too scared to go somewhere where you don't know a language. So it's a good starting point if you haven't been out of the country much. It's still a good city. There's a ton to do there, a lot to see. So yeah.
Yeah, we've really only scratched the surface of things that you can do there. I would agree with that assessment. I rank it a lot higher than you ranked it, though. I thought that it was. I would go back if it wasn't for the weather. I could visit that place every year. We went in August, and the weather was really pretty good. But folks have told us before. We have some British friends who said, "Yeah, if you're not going in August, it's really just hit or miss.
Huh.
You may or may not see rain. It rains there. It's an island. It rains all the time.
I went in May. I actually had good
And
weather.
it was okay?
oddly enough. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So what I just said about August really didn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah. Your friends are liars,
Well,
obviously.
Yeah.
Kind of like you are on
our
this podcast,
British
just
friends
making stuff up.
taught us how to correctly pronounce the River Thames. Yeah, they're liars.
River
Yeah.
Thames.
I'm gonna tame you. Okay.
I don't even know what that means. There's no taming
listen,
this beast.
Guys, don't just sit around. We say this all the time. It's better to go someplace you hate than to not go any place at all. Get off your butt and go somewhere.
That's right.
Go to London. Go to Rome. Go to Paris. Go right down the road.
Boston.
Yeah, anywhere. Just get up and go. Go do something.
Why would you go there?
Yeah, why would you? Because it's better than just sitting around watching Netflix and YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to us on the way.
Yeah. All right, we good?
Yeah. I
Are we
think
out?
so.
Are we done?
Yeah.
All right. You're right. I did carry you through that.
You wish.
Congratulations.
You wish.